What's up, folks? Nick Runlet with the Sales Mastermind, and today we are talking about how to follow up with your prospects after you've sent that proposal, they've gone dark, you don't want to annoy them with a classic, "Oh hey, just checking in, do you want to buy yet?" No, you need some strategic, high-value ways to follow up with your prospects to get the deal back on track, and that is exactly what we are going to give to you today. Let's listen in. I'm excited.
We had a meeting with like 5 people from the university. Went really well. There's a lot of head nodding, which is always a good sign, acknowledging what we're saying, and then set next steps, asked them if they were, ready to get a contract, and sent that out on Tuesday. Actually, the meeting was on Monday, now that I think about it. But yeah, I sent the contract out on Tuesday afternoon. So it's been Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm thinking so what I want to do is send a bump email just to the point of contact and get an idea of where they're at without saying that. So I'm just trying to figure out, is it too soon? And if I were to send that, what should I say? I guess I feel like I should provide some sort of value in the email, not just hey, just want to make sure you got the contract. Do you have any questions? Something beyond that kind of creates some urgency.
I guess I'll chime in first. I think following up with after a first meeting is very dependent on setting expectations. This is something I've talked about a little bit in the past, but on that first meeting, you need to identify where you're going to go from there, and preferably the exact day that you'll follow up. So if a meeting goes well and they say it's kind of open-ended, well, we want to discuss this internally and we'll get back to you. I'll say, okay, what's a good time frame? And they'll say, well, how about 2 weeks from now? Okay, Wednesday next month, I'll reach out. That way, they anticipate it and they have that time frame to work upon. But if you don't have that, it's not that big of a deal. But like you said, always go with value. Just lead in with something like, we discussed this. Here's another piece of content relating to that I thought would be helpful. From this, is there anything else you'd like me to fill you in on, or are we ready to move to the next stage?
Yeah, so this was the second meeting, Logan. So I had the first meeting, and I'm glad you brought all that up because I made sure to do majority of what you just said. I guess it's more so trying to figure out, now that I've sent out a proposal, what can I do to solidify it beyond just waiting for a week and then not hearing anything back and then kind of guessing at what's going on.
Yeah, so I agree that setting up the right expectations at every phase of the sales cycle makes this a lot easier. One thing that you can incorporate, well, let me ask you this, actually, stepping back a little bit. When you reviewed the proposal with them, was that live on a call, or did you have a call with them and then just send them off a proposal as the next step from that call?
Yeah, we discussed what they were looking for. We gave 2 pricing options based on how much they wanted to buy in up front. But we've pretty much hammered all that out on the call we had on Monday. Seemed like they were pretty interested. They asked for the contract, so it wasn't we're just sending it to them. It's more so just trying to figure out where they're at with the process of signing it, if they're still talking to their legal team or whatever it might be, and going from there, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so one way that you can follow up in a way that's a little bit less than annoying is to say, hey, typically at this phase, legal will have, some questions or suggested red lines to the proposal. What can we do to help you?
Could I make it even more broader? Just beyond just saying, do you have any questions, but is there anything you wanted to add or change, or is that overcomplicating it? Or I don't know.
I wouldn't open the door for them making, well, I mean, in a way that's what my language could lead to, but that's not the intent of it. Basically their next step is to submit your proposal to their legal team, correct?
That's the procedure that the CEO of my company explained, that usually it has to go through a legal team after they approve of whatever it may be, and then they'll probably get back. And the timeline is usually a week to 2 weeks hearing something back. I just wanted to add another touch point to let them know that we're still here to, help in any way we can.
So your last touch point with the customer was what explicitly?
Sending a detailed email explaining the terms of the proposal with the proposal to my original point of contact. He's kind of been handling all the communications between the other 4 people that are involved in the decision-making process. So I feel comfortable emailing him. It's just I don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
I've usually found that if you want to email someone but you have nothing to say, then it's probably not necessary to send the email.
Think so, Logan?
Yeah, I mean, it's as long as you've identified a time frame for them to fill it out. Like, are you stuck in a situation where, like, a week from now, that's when they're expected to have this proposal completed? Do they have a deadline for
That's
this?
the typical timeline that it's taken for universities in the past. This is the first deal I've had go to proposal, so with Better
Okay.
Mind. So I'm still trying to understand how things work and how to
Yeah.
keep moving it along.
Well, one thing to keep in mind then is that the customer doesn't know how the process works. You do. So you act as a guide in that way. They're dependent on you looking for what to do next, essentially. So if a week goes by, something you could try is, like, typically these are filled out in a week. Was curious if you guys have finished it by now. If not, is there anything else I can help with?
Okay.
And make sure that they know this is traditionally how we've done it. Is there a particular reason why that's not working right now?
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, do you have any thoughts?
I came in about halfway in, so I didn't get the whole story.
So the whole story is I sent out a proposal on Tuesday afternoon, and I'm just wondering if I should be sending another email just to, like, see if there's anything more I can do to help move it along. Did you catch the other portion of that?
Yeah, I think the short answer is no. From Tuesday to Thursday, I mean, they're not always going to sign it immediately. I think what you could have done and what you should do next time is sort of learn a little bit more about what happens once you send the contract. Like, it's almost like a second discovery. Like, what happens as soon as we hang up here? You said we're going forward. You want me to send you the Panda doc, the DocuSign, whatever. From there, what happens? You just go in front of it. Are there any other layers of approval? From there, at the very least, you'll kind of have a timeline in your head. Is they going to reply back with a signature immediately? Is this going to take 2 weeks? Or maybe there's some steps that you could be proactive about. Like, oh, it has to go through procurement. Oh, what are sort of the metrics by which procurement is going to be monitoring that? Maybe you kind of find out that procurement kills a lot of deals like this in the past, and maybe there's some things you can do to be proactive about it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So beyond just understanding the decision-making process, understand the process of filling out the contract, like what do they have to do on their end in order to push it forward?
I mean, that is part of the decision-making process now. So, like, again, I look at it as like a second discovery, where, like, the first discovery is, like, sort of like diagnosing the pain of, like, what's painful over there that has you talking to me right now. And then the second discovery is more about, so, okay, what happens after we hang up? Who needs approval on this? I remember I saw really good like phrasing on LinkedIn today. I don't remember who said it, but, like, who would feel left out if we didn't get this in front of them? Just that sort of just idea of exactly what happens once you're off the phone. You can't expect them to loop you in anything. Like, if you've ever bought software, if you've ever bought anything before yourself, you know you're going to tactfully not involve the sales rep in every conversation you have about it. But you can at least know what those conversations are going to look like and help them prepare to sort of have that conversation on your behalf.
Okay. I did leave it a little open too to have an additional conversation if it was needed in the email. So it wasn't like I just left them completely hanging. They know they can come to me if there's something they have questions about or need language changed in it.
They just don't want to feel like they're being sold. Like they want to like discuss internally without the pressure of having a salesperson in the mix, and that's fair. But if you know who they're in front of, you can say, oh, so that's to get in front of the CFO for approval. So what is the CFO's priorities right now? And then sort of like prepare them for a conversation with the CFO, because you're better at selling your software than your prospect is.
Okay.
Almost like coaching them. So like, for example, like I had a demo with a project manager today, discovered that he wasn't, I figure when a project manager reaches out for Toggle, it's because like their director of ops or their founder has them doing some shopping. In this case, I discovered that he's just, he kind of sees it's a bit of a shit show right now and wants to implement time tracking because he did it at his last job. So most of the conversation was like, okay, what are your boxes? Do we check those boxes? And now how do we have conversations about how to sell this? And like, who do we need to get this in front of? And then it turned into him making introductions to his director in an email, and then me having a demo with the decision maker. Like, had I just released him back into the wild, he could have just brought it, said the wrong thing, it would have been over.
Yeah. Another thought is like Matt's point of there's 2 discoveries in every sales cycle. I think that's a really good one. A piece of language that popped to my mind is like, I prefer to do this over a call, but you could probably also achieve it in an email. Just like, hey, Tom, as you're reviewing the commercials of the agreement, for my own understanding, what else needs to take place internally to evaluate this? Do you need a security questionnaire filled? Do you need like you can volunteer 1 or 2 things that are typical inside of your process to, as Logan pointed out, kind of guide them through the buyer's journey proactively. And this can like serve as a gentle reminder in it without feeling like high pressure. Like, hey, you're reviewing the commercials and I get that takes time. From my own understanding, like what else needs to take place while that's going on?
Yeah, to Nick's point, that's actually well, I know what you don't want to do, and you don't want to just pop in and check in and say, hey, if you have any questions, just let me know if I can help. Like they know.
So I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they know that they can reach out to you if they have any questions, right? And also like you're to the point where that ship is kind of sailed as far as learning the entire process, and that's going to be a learning experience for next time and something that I'm still working on, perfecting, getting better at too. But I think to Nick's point, you can just straight up ask like, hey, is this like under another set of eyes right now? Is there like a review process happening? And just like not even like saying, hey, well, I'm here to help. Just kind of saying, if you just straight up ask like, hey, what's going on? What's the story right now? They'll probably tell you something. It might not really be something that you'll have much control over at this point, but you'll at least, not be like refreshing your Gmail, waiting for the contract to come back all day.
I didn't end up refreshing my Gmail all day. Ended up like prospecting probably more than I should have. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think that's all. Thank you, everybody.
Folks, I hope that helped tremendously for your next deal. And remember, every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, these calls run on for 1 to 2 hours, where we're helping you solve any problem you can think of pertaining to sales, career development, you name it. If you want to join, go to mastermind.army, sign up for the newsletter, ask a question, get in on the call. We would love to see you next Thursday. Mastermind.army. This is Nick Rundlet, signing off.